right? So I came about in a sideways way, I would say. I study architecture in the Dominican Republic, and I worked in architecture for a bit. But within my 5-year degree there, I had one landscape class that opened my eyes into the outside world. And from there on, I started designing all my projects thinking from the outside in. And after a few years of working in architecture, I was like, I don't love architecture at all. I need a change.
So would you say though that did you have like one really inspirational professor that
Yes.
really
Yes.
tell us about your professor?
He was a rare breed in the Dominican Republic. There were only like one or two landscape architects, or paisajistas, like we call them. They were professionally
I'm sorry,
working.
what did you call them?
Paisajistas, or paisajismo is landscape architecture in Spanish, or at least in the Dominican Republic. And so he was very old, very crabby on his own way, but like he was a good professor, and he had a really good sense of design. He designed the local botanical garden, in the Santo Domingo Botanical Garden.
Lovely.
And so my parents are gardeners, my grandparents are gardeners, we have a little farm, like we always grew up around plants, and it was like a big thing in our family, plant knowledge. But I never really paid attention then until he...
So you weren't really a gardener when you were young?
No, not really.
Okay.
Because they were all doing it all the time, and I was like, that's for old people.
Yeah, that's why I do it.
No, well, that's what I started doing pretty much as soon as I left the house. So with that experience, I then injected my architecture to be about the outside, or bringing the outside in instead of the inside out kind of thing. So I started seeing things that way. Then 2 years went by, so now we're talking about 2000, and I was totally out of love with architecture, and I wanted to do landscape as a degree, but it was a 2-year program abroad because there was no landscape architecture in the Dominican Republic.
Right.
And I couldn't afford 2 years abroad, so I was like, all right, let me find a 1-year program in architecture, maybe a school that's more creative, and find a different sort of output for architecture. So I ended up coming to SCI-Arc here in Los Angeles. And at SCI-Arc, everybody's like, oh, you can do whatever you want at SCI-Arc. So I was like, all right, I'll do landscape architecture at SCI-Arc. So I tried, but that didn't quite work out. And after I ended SCI-Arc, I'm on a student visa, so I had to work in architecture for a few more years. And 4 years later, I'm miserable again, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I really love plants. And within that period, I picked up the Sunset Western Garden book,
right,
and like shredded to tatters. I was like every single page,
You wore that book out.
Oof, like it's still that way. In my desk, it's like pages fall out in chunks. Lots of highlights and red notes.
I like the old ones too. I don't like the new versions.
Exactly.
I like the old versions.
Yeah, exactly. I have
That's
that's the
side
one
story.
I have.
Right.
Yeah, and so then I worked in architecture for another 3-4 years, and then found a firm that did both. So I started migrating into it, and then that firm put me in contact with Nancy Power, who's a landscape designer.
We both know Nancy.
Nancy is a character, and she's amazing.
Life force, for sure.
Yes, life force for sure.
We gotta
Power.
get her story.
She's power.
She is power. Right. Precisely.
Yeah, and so that was my beginning in like no more architecture in a way, landscape only, and I convinced Nancy because of my plant knowledge.
Well,
I convinced Nancy to hire me.
There you go. Well,
because
that's
of how much
telling me a story,
plant I
because
knew.
I know Nancy, she almost prided herself on not knowing the names of plants. You know, she just was like, well, I don't know the name of it, but it would stick in her head, and she would sort of know what to do with it. But I know she influenced a lot of other designers in the way she looked at plants and began to use plants.
Yeah, like her landscape is like watercolors in a way, like she just like big broad strokes of colors and textures.
Right.
So I was with Nancy for 3-4 years, and then I moved to Rio's Clementi Health Studios, and I've been with Mark for 6 years on change.
Just tell us a little bit about the firm that you're at right now and your role in it.
So I worked for Rio's Clementi Health Studios, and It is a big design house. We are 120 something employees.
That's a lot of people.
It is a lot of us. We have a new building now. We're 30,000 square foot space.
It's a big office.
It feels like being back at school in a way, like you're back at a design.
Right.
We are
Back
a
on
design
campus.
studio. Yeah, and it's that way. The creative energy flowing in the space is amazing. We do anything from a men's wear line to coffee cups to furniture, landscape, architecture, interior,
not just-
branding. Huh?
Now that I said not just landscape architecture.
No, not just landscape.
Well, now I
Anything
just learned
goes.
something for sure.
Yeah, rugs, anything goes. And a lot of our products come from our own projects, becomes a product line, or we just come up with a product line. So
Well, that sounds exciting.
yeah, it's really exciting. And so it's really exciting that to work in a firm where most every project involves other
Disciplines.
Thank you for that.
It's okay. I can't believe I came up
so
with
like
that.
even just like a presentation, I hand it over to the graphic design team
Right.
and have them like give it an oomph to it because it's important and it's amazing. Like people think that landscape architects or architects really can't do landscape, or we can do graphic design. Like we all think we can do everything, but there is a profession, and then there's a person that like has a niche, and they are really important to include in your work. And so in my case, at Rios and everywhere I go, I'm a plants woman, and people know me.
I'm proud of it.
I am so proud of it. People know me for that. Like I get asked questions,
done.
what is this plant on a daily basis? And like it's my favorite
and
text.
you're thrilled to that,
I'm
right?
thrilled. And like,
Stump
it's like,
us.
okay, hold on, everything moves to the side. Here's this book, here's this information, like I know this person, you can talk to that person. I love my connections with all the nurseries. I love my connection with my knowledge of plants, but it's a knowledge of plants in a horticultural way. So that's
Right.
my next goal now, is to actually get a horticultural license, because I understand, or I try to understand the plants, where they come from, what is it that they need, what is it that they
Right.
like, and then maintenance like throughout the life cycle of a plant. So it's not just about like, oh, that looks pretty and it works with that
There
color
you
and that
go.
color.
All right.
Yeah.
So could you imagine a life not in landscape architecture?
I could not. I could not imagine a life without landscape architecture. I could not imagine a life without working with plants on a daily basis. And I think Los Angeles is the perfect space for that. We live outside. We can be outside 24/7, 360 something days of the year. Even in the rain, it's still pretty good.
That's great. All right. Thanks for talking to us.